Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This time we're going to be working on my 2009 Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's a limited. It has the 5.7 Hemi. It's got the Quadra drive. Has like 73,000 miles. Since this car's had about 30,000 miles, there's always been a clunking coming from underneath. And that clunking noise is due to bad, they call it isolator bushings. Basically there's 3 points of contact, 3 bushings that hold the front differential in place, differential housing, and one of them is completely torn. I'll show you a video of the axle actually flexing. I don't know if you can be able to hear the noise, but you get this horrible clunking noise. And after dealing with it for so many years, I've had it. So I'm gonna change it. It's gotten worse, but here we go. Okay, you can also feel it. Oh man, you can hear that, right? Man, it's loud. All right, one more time. Damn. Alright. Hopefully that's the last time we're going to deal with that. Okay, so here are the parts. You have 2 bushings that look like this, and then you have this one, like in the shape of a T. This goes to the front. This one's very easy to access. This one's not too bad. This is pressed in, and this one's pressed in. So this one goes to the front, this one goes to, it doesn't matter, these are the same. So let's just say this one goes to the passenger side, and this one goes to the top of the axle, like above the center section. And this is the one that's broken, and of course this is the most difficult one to get to. It couldn't have been the one to the left or the one on the front. It has to be this one. But I'm going to replace them all because this one has it's starting to crack, but it looks still in good shape. And this one is fine, but I'm going to change them all. I always try to get originals. These are Mopar. Those are the part numbers. This one, they advertised it. I got these off of Amazon. It was like $160 for the 3. They advertised this one as original Mopar, but I don't see any indications that it is an original Mopar. So I don't see anything, but this is the part number. It's the same. 521143544AA. So $160, got it off of Amazon. Okay, so I got the car up in the air. I'm doing this on my lift. I got a 4-post lift in my garage. And alright, let's go underneath the car and I'll show you what we're up against. Okay, so basically that's the front axle differential housing, however you prefer to call it. This is the front mount. You see that bolt, nut and bolt right there? That's that front mount. That one's easy to get. First thing we have to do is just take off this cover. It's got 4 bolts. You're going to remove these 2, and then the 2 in the front you just loosen, and then you're going to slide the plate forward, and when the plate is pushed forward, you can then drop the plate. If you see how the plate is designed, push it forward, and then you have this cutout here, and it just slides over the washer and the bolt. Now, I've never done this job before. I'm not a trained mechanic. I'm not licensed, I'm not a professional. I'm just some guy who likes to work on his own cars, try to save money. The dealer wanted a ridiculous price, and this being New York, everything seems more expensive here. If you live out in the Midwest, you could probably get this done for half the price they quoted me for. So, to the hell with the dealers, I'll do it myself. Now, am I going to make mistakes? Probably. However, in the end, am I going to fix it? Am I going to fix it right? Yes. Do I have a book or a reference guide to go through? No. So I'm going to wing it, but I'm going to do it right. And is my way going to be the fastest way? Probably not. So let's just start with getting this cover off, and then I could show you. Okay, there's the other bushing. This is the one on the passenger side. So they're pressed in. They call it isolator bushing. So that one's pressed in. The one that's broken, right up there. It's that thing right up there. Well, that's the one that's broken, and this whole housing moves like this, and that's what makes that clunking noise. And when you're driving, if you floor it, well, if you're at a roll, let's say you're doing 40 miles an hour and you floor it, when you apply all that power and torque, it also lifts up again like this. So this has been an ongoing problem since 2009. It probably happened like a year and a half, 2 years after I got it. So I've been dealing with this noise and this problem for many years now. So we're going to take off that cover, and then we're going to have to take off the dry shaft. And then we'll take it from there. Alright guys, I'll be back. Okay, so I'm going to use a 1/2-inch socket to remove these two back bolts on this front skid plate. And then I'm going to just loosen those two bolts. Those are also 1/2-inch. Alright, so let me do that, and I'll be back. I apologize, but I'm here by myself. I'm just filming this with my cell phone. I don't have somebody to help me, so I can't actually show you how I unscrew them, but I'm sure you know how to use a ratchet. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, so I got the front cover off. You can see the axle differential, whatever you prefer calling it. So there's the isolator bushing on the passenger side. This is the one on the front. This one, if it was just this one, would have been a piece of cake. Just undo these 3 nuts and bolts, and these 2 bolts here. Pop it out and put in the new one. But of course, it's got to be the one that's up there that's inaccessible. So I'm going to remove the drive shaft now. Those are 8mm bolts. And it's a good idea to mark your dry shaft so you put it in the way you took it out, because it is balanced, and let's say you don't put it in the way the factory had it, you could have vibration, and then you could see that the factory marked this one here for me, so thank you. So you got some yellow compound here and some yellow compound here, and the same on the front one. It's just not that visible. You can see here, and then you can see it here on the dry shaft end. So alright, let me get to it. I'll be back. Okay, so welcome back. I got the dry shaft disconnected. It's just resting here. So what I'm hoping to do, and I don't know if it's gonna work, I always try to do things in as little steps as possible, as few steps as possible. So I'm hoping that I could take that bolt out, disconnect this isolator bushing, and then get the nut out on top, which is that nut right over there. And I'm hoping I could lower this center section, front differential, whatever you want to call it, hoping I could lower it enough to where I could press this one out. I'm just going to use an air chisel and beat it up and then do the one on top, but I think the one on top, there's not going to be enough room. So then I think I'm going to have to do some further steps. Well, let me get those 3 bolts out and let me see what happens. So again, I'm just hoping to drop it this way and down. I don't think it's going to work, but I'm hoping it does. So let's see what happens. Alright, I'll be back. Before I try to take out the 3 bolts, you have to unplug this one wire from the top of the differential right here, and then you have this one vent tube. Just pull that off right there, set that aside, let this hang. Alright, so let's see what happens when I try to take out those 3 bolts. Alright, I'll be back. Wish me luck. Okay, so I got this nut and bolt out. Here it is. This side is 18 millimeter. This side is 15 millimeter. So I just put a wrench here and a ratchet on the other side. Now, for the upper one, the one that's impossible to reach, I got a wrench up there on the nut. And then to get that bolt up there, I got some extensions with a reducer to 15 millimeter. So I'm gonna use my air gun. So you get the idea, it's gonna go like that. Alright, so let me give that a shot and I'll be back. I just want to show you guys a trick. You can see I got a piece of blue tape around the swivel and the socket. And the reason for that is because the weight of the socket just wants to pull the swivel down like that. So when you're trying to line it up there, it's very difficult and you can't get your hand in there for assistance. So I just take a piece of blue tape, I wrap it around once, and it holds it steady, but yet it's flexible enough so you can get that little angle that you need. So when you don't have an extra set of hands, or if you can't reach, like I can't reach here, can't get my other hand in there to guide it on, I just do it like this. So let me show you. Hold on. Okay. And I'm able to just guide it on. Boom, there, I got it. See that? And that's what happens. Alright, that's a trick. I'll be back. Okay, so I got the nut off, but that bolt doesn't want to slide out. I think I'm going to have to put a pair of vice grips on the head of the bolt, pinch it, lock it, and try to pull it out. I might have to take some of the weight off, maybe lower the lift, put a jack stand here. And once the jack stand starts to support this, maybe then I could wiggle it out. I'm going to take these 2 nuts out. These 2 are 16 millimeter. And we'll see what happens. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, welcome back. So my plan's not going to work. It's just if this drops and rotates, I'm not going to be able to get an air chisel in there, try to punch these out, or somehow try to press them on. Especially that one up there. There's just no room. So we're going to have to undo some of this stuff. So I've been looking. I'm going to disconnect the upper control arms. Right up there. That. I'm going to disconnect the outer tie rod ends right over here. And the sway bar end links right there. I don't see why you would have to disconnect the axle from the unit bearing. Basically, you take off the wheel and then there's a big nut holding the axle in place, keeping it tight against the unit bearing. So by disconnecting the upper control arms, the outer tie rod ends, and the sway bar end links, I should be able to turn this, pull the axle out of the front differential or center section. So that's what I'm going to do next. So as you can see, as I go along, I realize what I can and can't do. And again, this is my first time doing this. Never done this job before, so let me get back to it and I'll be back. Okay, so here's my plan. I just took a crowbar and wedged it across to here just to hold that up in place. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 2 jack stands here on the floor. I'm going to put like a 2x8 across. And then I'm going to lower the lift. And then the 2x8 will rest against this brace. And as the lift goes down, and once this brace makes contact with the jack stands, the front end will be lifted off the ramp. And then I'll pop off the tires. I'll disconnect the upper control arm right there. Just got 1 nut, and hopefully I can hit it a few times. Hit the knuckle here a few times with a hammer and it should pop off. And then I'll do the same here with the outer tie rod ends. 1 nut, hit it a few times, hopefully it pops off. And then this is the sway bar end link, and I'll disconnect it here. And then I should be able to pull this whole assembly back and to the side, and then probably just have to tap the CV shaft here, or the axle, whatever you want to call it. Hit it a few times and it should come out. I'm trying not to undo the CV shaft / axle from the unit bearing. It's got a big nut on the other side, so hopefully it'll just pull out. And again, it's my first time doing this. I'm not a mechanic. I don't work at a Jeep dealership, so I'm just figuring this out as I go along. But so far, you know, we're making progress. All right, so let me get to it and I'll be back. All right, guys, so this is what I was mentioning before. 2 jack stands. I got two boards underneath that brace over there. So the car is elevated, at least the front end is. I got the wheel off. So hopefully we're going to disconnect this, and this. All right. You see this flat spot here? This is where it's intended to be hit with a hammer. And the shock will supposed to release this. The upper control arm from the knuckle should separate. All right, let me get to it. I'll be back. Okay, so when you're going to try to disconnect this upper or bowl joint here, loosen this nut. Don't take it off all the way. Loosen it, and then you can hit it here and hit it here. All right, I'll be back. All right, so not as easy as I would like. Nothing wanted to come off. This is an 18mm nut. I eventually got it off. I sprayed WD-40. I let it soak for a while. I was banging it here and here, and then it finally came loose. This was a real pain in the neck, the outer tie rod end. That took a long time to get loose. This is a 21mm nut bolt. And then this is just fused on here. This one would not come off no matter what. So I disconnected from the top. It's a little more work. It's an 18mm. Okay, it's an 18mm nut and bolt over here. So I had to disconnect the sway bar from up there. Then you undo this clip here for this ABS line, and it has one of these push locks, so I carefully, with a small screwdriver, pushed it out. So now I'm going to be able to swing this whole assembly forward, you know, and I'm not going to have to hopefully disconnect any of the brake lines. So we'll see. And then I should be able to knock the CV shaft, or axle, whatever you want to call it. Should be able to knock that out from the differential housing. All right, so I'll be back. Okay, so you're gonna have to take off your caliper. You got 2 bolts there. They did not want to budge for nothing. What size are they? I think they're 21. Yeah, 21 millimeter. Yeah, 21 millimeter. So I have it hanging there. And I was able to finally just pop out the CV shaft / actual shaft, whatever you're comfortable calling it. I just tapped on it gently and it came right out. So it is separated from the center section, the differential, whatever you're comfortable calling it. So now I got to do all this on the other side. All right, I'll be back. Okay, I'm over on the driver's side. I've got everything off. Oh, it was a little easier on this side for some reason to knock the tie rod end off and disconnect the upper knuckle joint. I was able to pull the axle shaft out of the differential. This one came out pretty easy. This one just took a little more compressing. So I just had to like compress it back a little more. And be careful when you're pulling it out that you don't want to rip the rubber seal here on both ends. You have the same kind of seal on the other side. So, and as you can see, the differential fluid is being captured in this container here. I should have drained it, but I was lazy, but I'm going to drain it. Once this slows down, I'll take out the drain plug there. And then your fill plug is a little higher. So I'm going to drain it so that when I start lowering the differential, and once it's tilting, the gear lube doesn't come pouring out. So I'm just going to let that drain. And then I could take out I just have some 2 bolts holding this in place. And I'll put my floor jack here, lift it up, and we'll drop this down. Then we can work on getting out those bad isolator bushings. So this is what it looks like. It's not the easiest job. And again, I've never done this. I'm just figuring it out as I go along. And this is how you guys do it at home too. When you have a problem, you just figure it out. So hopefully you can use my video as a reference guide. And hopefully it works out. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, I don't know if you can see that drain plug right there, but that is a pretty big Allen key socket. And I don't have an Allen key or anything that big. So it's going to be a big mess. So I'll put down cardboard, and I don't know why the hell they use such a large Allen keys nut drain plug. Alright, so get ready for a big mess. I'll be back. Okay, so there it is. It's pretty heavy. Would have been ideal if I had like a transmission jack stand, but I don't. So put down some cardboard. I lowered it with this. Wasn't the smoothest thing, but it came out. So we have a big empty space here. Alright, so yeah, here's the fill plug. I don't have an Allen key or any type of a bit for a socket that's this size. That's a pretty big size. Guess I'll have to go buy one. Alright, and here is the broken isolator bushing. This thing is just sitting in there. There. This is the culprit. You know, this is bullshit. This is a very common problem, and Chrysler should do a recall and should pay for this, because this broke when the car was maybe a year and a half old, and it just kept getting worse and worse, and I knew how difficult to... You know, it's my fault. I should have also had it done when it was under warranty, but life intervenes and you can't always make it to the dealer. Alright, I'll be back.